Good evening, dear friends. Tonight, we journey to a land whispered of only in the quietest moments. A kingdom where the stars once danced in harmony with the people below. Close your eyes and let your mind drift as I guide you through the ancient lands of Australia, where a young prince named Orion sets out on a quest to restore the light that has long faded from his realm. Feel the soft night breeze, the calm rustle of leaves, and the distant shimmer of stars above. As the story unfolds, imagine yourself walking alongside the prince through the enchanted forests and under the vast expanse of the heavens. Let the gentle rhythm of his journey lull you into a state of peace, and soon you'll find yourself drifting among the stars. So take a deep breath, relax, and let the magic of this tale carry you away. In the heart of a land known only in whispers, there lay the ancient kingdom of Australia, where the night sky was more than a mere canvas of stars. It was the very lifeblood of the realm. The people of Australia lived in harmony with the heavens, their lives entwined with the celestial rhythms. It was said that the stars themselves had once guided their ancestors, granting them wisdom and prosperity. But that was long ago, in a time before darkness crept into the world. As the years passed, the stars dimmed, and the guiding light of the celestial amulet, a sacred artifact blessed by the stars, was lost to time. Without its protection, Australia began to wither. The lush forests grew thin, the rivers ran dry, and the once glorious cities fell into decay. The sky, once a brilliant tapestry of constellations, became a void, its light swallowed by an encroaching darkness that none could explain. The people whispered of a curse, of a great wrong that had severed their bond with the stars. Yet none knew the truth, for it had been buried with the amulet, hidden in the vast expanse of the heavens. In this time of despair, the kingdom was ruled by a young prince named Orion. He was a man of noble heart and unwavering determination, the last beacon of hope in a land shrouded by shadow. Orion was raised on tales of Australia's former glory, and as a child, he would often climb the highest tower of his castle to gaze at the sky, imagining what it must have been like when the stars still sang to his people. Now, as a man grown, he stood upon that same tower, looking out at a kingdom on the brink of ruin. The winds that swept through the once majestic spires carried with them the scent of decay, a reminder of the slow death that had claimed his land. The people were weary, their spirits broken, and though they looked to Orion for guidance, he had none to give. But deep within his heart, a fire burned. He knew that the only way to save Australia was to restore its connection to the stars. And to do that, he would have to find the lost celestial amulet, an artifact so powerful it was said to hold the wisdom of the cosmos itself. Orion had heard the legends, stories of how the amulet had been created by the first stargazers, infused with the very essence of the stars. It was a beacon of hope, a guide through the darkest of times. But it had been lost centuries ago, and no one knew where it had gone. Some believed it had been taken by the gods. Others thought it was hidden in the stars, waiting for one worthy enough to claim it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the first faint stars appeared in the sky, Orion summoned the kingdom's oldest and wisest sage, a man named Cedric. Cedric had served the royal family for generations, his eyes seeing more years than Orion could count. He was said to be the last living soul who remembered the days when the stars still guided their lives. "Tell me, Cedric," Orion began, his voice heavy with the weight of his people's suffering. "How do I find the celestial amulet? How do I restore Australia to its former glory?" Cedric's eyes, cloudy with age, bore into the young prince's. "The amulet lies not within the reach of ordinary men," he said slowly, his voice like the rustling of ancient parchment. "It is hidden beyond the veil of the heavens, in a realm where mortals fear to tread. Only one with the heart of a true king, a soul untainted by greed, may find it." Orion listened intently, his resolve hardening with each word. "Then I shall venture to this realm, no matter the cost. I will bring back the amulet and restore the light to Australia." Cedric nodded, a faint smile touching his lips. "Then you must prepare, my prince. The path you seek is fraught with peril, and the stars themselves will test out about you. But remember this: the amulet grants not only power, but also guidance. Trust in it, and it will lead you where you need to go." With that, the seed of a great journey was planted in Orion's heart. He knew the road ahead would be long and treacherous, but for the sake of his people, he would brave the unknown. The lost kingdom would not remain lost for long. In the days that followed his conversation with Cedric, Prince Orion could think of little else but the words of the old sage. The prophecy, though shrouded in mystery, had awakened a deep longing within him, a desire to reclaim the glory that had once belonged to Australia. The people needed hope, and he, their prince, was determined to be the one to deliver it. As the first light of dawn touched the castle walls, Orion made his way to the Grand Library, a place filled with ancient tomes and forgotten knowledge. Here, he sought the wisdom of those who had come before him, hoping to uncover more about the prophecy and the path he must take. The library was a vast, echoing chamber, its shelves lined with books bound in leather and inscribed with golden letters. Dust motes danced in the beams of sunlight that streamed through the high windows, and the air was thick with the scent of aged parchment. Orion's footsteps were the only sound as he moved between the rows of books, his eyes scanning the titles for anything that might hold the answers he sought. Finally, he came upon a volume bound in deep blue, its cover adorned with a silver star. The title, "The Chronicles of the Stars," was written in a language so old that few in the kingdom could still read it. But Orion, having been taught by the best scholars, recognized it instantly. With a sense of anticipation, he pulled the book from the shelf and opened it. The pages within were filled with tales of the stars, myths and legends of celestial beings, of kings and queens who had once ruled with the guidance of the heavens. But one story in particular caught Orion's eye. It was a prophecy, written in a flowing script that seemed to shimmer with its own light. The one who seeks the celestial amulet, the prophecy began, must venture beyond the earthly bounds where the stars sing their ancient songs. In the realm of the heavens, the path shall be revealed, guided by the light of the amulet. But beware, for the stars do not yield their wisdom easily. Only the pure of heart, untainted by darkness, shall succeed. Orion's heart quickened as he read the words. This was the guidance he had been seeking, the key to finding the amulet and restoring his kingdom. Yet the prophecy also spoke of trials, of challenges that would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Still, the path was clear. He must journey beyond the earthly realm to where the stars themselves would guide him. Closing the book, Orion carefully returned it to its place on the shelf. He knew that his next step would be to prepare for the journey, to gather the companions and resources he would need to face the trials ahead. But first, he needed to consult with Cedric once more to ensure he fully understood the gravity of the task before him. Orion found the old sage in the castle's courtyard, tending to a small garden of herbs and flowers. Despite his age, Cedric's hands were steady, and his eyes, though dim with years, still held a spark of wisdom. As Orion approached, Cedric looked up, a knowing smile on his lips. "You found it, haven't you?" the sage asked, his voice gentle yet firm. "Yes," Orion replied, nodding. The prophecy speaks of a journey beyond the earthly realm, where the stars will guide me to the amulet. But it also warns of trials, of tests that only the pure of heart can overcome. Cedric nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "The stars do not give their guidance freely, my prince. They will test your resolve, your courage, and your heart. But remember, the amulet is not just a tool of power, it is a guide. It will lead you, but you must be willing to follow, even when the path seems uncertain." Orion considered the sage's words, feeling the weight of the task before him. But he also felt a growing determination, a sense of purpose that he had not known before. This was his destiny, the path he was meant to walk. For the sake of his kingdom, he would face whatever trials the stars placed before him. "I am ready," Orion said, his voice steady. "I will gather my companions and prepare for the journey. We will find the celestial amulet and bring light back to Australia." Cedric smiled, a glint of pride in his eyes. "Then go, my prince. The stars are waiting." And so, with the prophecy's words etched into his heart, Prince Orion set out to prepare for his journey. He would seek the amulet, guided by the light of the stars, and prove himself worthy of the destiny that awaited him. The day had finally come for Prince Orion to embark on his fateful journey. The castle was abuzz with preparations, and the people of Australia, though weary from years of hardship, gathered in the courtyard to witness the beginning of their prince's quest. Their eyes, once dull with despair, now gleamed with a flicker of hope, for they believed that Orion would succeed where others had failed. Orion stood at the entrance of the castle, dressed in armor that gleamed like the night sky, adorned with symbols of the stars. His sword, forged from celestial metal, hung at his side, its hilt wrapped in leather worn from generations of use. Beside him stood his two trusted companions, Lysandra, a warrior of unparalleled skill, whose loyalty to Orion was matched only by her fierce determination, and Magnus, an old and wise mage, whose knowledge of ancient magic was vast and deep. The three had been friends since childhood, bound by a shared sense of duty to their kingdom. Now, they would venture into the unknown together, relying on each other's strengths to overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. Before departing, Orion turned to his people, raising his voice so all could hear. "My friends," he began, his tone resolute yet warm. "I go now to seek the celestial amulet, to bring back the light that has long been absent from our land. Know that I carry with me the hopes and dreams of Australia, and I swear by the stars themselves that I will not rest until our kingdom is restored." A cheer rose from the crowd, a sound that echoed through the courtyard like a wave of renewed faith. Orion, Lysandra, and Magnus exchanged a glance, a silent promise that they would not fail. Their first destination was the enchanted forest, a place steeped in legend and mystery. It was said that deep within his heart lay the astral gateway, a portal that connected the earthly realm to the heavens. No one knew exactly where it was, for the forest was a living entity, its paths shifting and changing as if guided by its own will. Many had entered the forest seeking the gateway, but few had ever returned. As the trio approached the edge of the forest, they were met with an eerie stillness. The trees, ancient and towering, loomed overhead, their branches intertwined to form a dense canopy that blocked out the sun. The air was thick with the scent of moss and earth, and the only sound was the distant rustling of leaves, as if the forest itself was whispering secrets to those who dared enter. Magnus, with his staff in hand, muttered an incantation, causing a small orb of light to appear, hovering just above them. "This will guide us," he said, his voice low, "but only if we remain true to our purpose. The forest is known to play tricks on those who enter with hearts clouded by doubt or fear." Orion nodded, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword as he took the first step into the forest. Lysandra followed close behind, her keen eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. Magnus, with his orb of light leading the way, brought up the rear, his mind attuned to the magical energies that pulse through the trees. The deeper they ventured, the more the forest seemed to close in around them. The paths twisted and turned, leading them in circles, as if testing their resolve. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, whispers, laughter, and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures. Yet the trio pressed on, their minds focused on their goal. After what felt like hours of wandering, they came upon a clearing bathed in soft silvery light. In the center of the clearing stood a stone archway, ancient and covered in glowing runes. The air around it shimmered with a faint, otherworldly energy, and the ground beneath it was untouched by the forest's encroaching roots. "This must be it," Lysandra whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "The astral gateway." Magnus approached the archway, his fingers tracing the runes that pulsed with a gentle rhythmic glow. "These runes are a language of the stars," he murmured. "They speak of a passage to the heavens, a journey that only those with a pure heart may undertake." Orion stepped forward, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Then let us proceed," he said, his voice steady. "The amulet awaits." As the three passed beneath the archway, the world around them shifted. The forest, the clearing, and the sky above dissolved into a sea of stars, swirling and twinkling in a vast expanse of cosmic beauty. They were no longer in the earthly realm but had entered the domain of the heavens. The astral gateway had opened, and their journey among the stars had begun. The moment Prince Orion, Lysandra, and Magnus stepped through the astral gateway, they found themselves enveloped in a realm of breathtaking wonder. The earthly world faded into memory as they stood on a path of shimmering stardust, winding its way through a vast expanse of cosmic brilliance. Above and around them, the heavens stretched endlessly, filled with constellations that gleamed like diamonds against the velvet sky. The path beneath their feet seemed to pulse with a gentle light, guiding them forward. Yet it was ever shifting, as if the stars themselves were alive, rearranging the way ahead. Each step they took resonated with a soft melodic chime, as though the very fabric of the universe responded to their presence. Lysandra, her warrior's instincts alert, scanned their surroundings with a mixture of awe and caution. "This place, it's like nothing I've ever seen," she murmured, her voice tinged with reverence. "It's as if we're walking through the dreams of the stars." Magnus, ever the scholar, nodded in agreement, his eyes alight with curiosity. "Indeed, we are in a realm where the laws of our world hold little sway. Here, the stars weave their own magic, and the path we tread is as much a test of our hearts as it is of our minds." Orion, though captivated by the beauty around him, remained focused on their goal. He knew that the starlit path was more than just a road to the celestial amulet. It was a journey that would test his resolve, his courage, and his worthiness to claim the artifact. The prophecy had spoken of trials, and he was certain they were about to begin. As they walked, the constellations above began to shift and dance, forming images that flickered in and out of focus. Some showed scenes of ancient battles, others of great kings and queens who had ruled with wisdom and might. Yet there were also darker visions, of shadows creeping across the land, of stars dimming and falling from the sky. Orion's heart tightened as he glimpsed these ominous images, but he pressed on, knowing that fear would only cloud his judgment. The path led them through a series of celestial landscapes, vast fields of glowing nebulae, rivers of liquid starlight, and forests of crystalline trees whose branches reached out toward the heavens. Each step brought new wonders, but also a growing sense of unease, as if the stars themselves were watching, waiting for them to falter. It was then that the first trial revealed itself. The path suddenly split into three, each branch leading in a different direction. One path glowed with a warm, golden light, inviting and reassuring. The second was bathed in a cool silver radiance, serene and calm. The third was shrouded in shadows, its edges blurred and indistinct, as though it led into the very heart of the night. Magnus, his brow furrowed in thought, studied the paths closely. "This is a test," he said softly. "The stars are asking us to choose our way, but the choice is not as simple as it seems. Each path represents a different aspect of our journey. Light, darkness, and the balance between them." Lysandra looked to Orion, her eyes searching his face for guidance. "Which path do we take, my prince?" Orion stood in silence for a moment, his gaze shifting between the three paths. The golden path promised safety, the silver one peace, but it was the shadowed path that called to him the most. It was the hardest to see, the most uncertain, and yet something deep within him knew that this was the way they must go. "The prophecy spoke of trials," Orion said at last, his voice firm. "If we are to prove ourselves worthy of the celestial amulet, we must face the darkness as well as the light. The shadowed path may be the most difficult, but it is the one we must take." With a nod of agreement, Lysandra and Magnus followed Orion as he stepped onto the shadowed path. The moment they did, the other two paths faded away, leaving them surrounded by a thick, starless void. The starlit landscape vanished, and they found themselves walking through a realm of twilight, where the light of the stars was dimmed and shadows danced at the edges of their vision. The path beneath their feet grew narrow and treacherous, winding through a labyrinth of darkened corridors and hidden pitfalls. Whispers echoed through the air, faint and indistinct, as if the very shadows were alive, speaking in a language only the stars could understand. But Orion did not falter. He kept his eyes fixed ahead, his heart steady and his mind clear. He knew that this was the trial of darkness, the test that would determine whether he was truly worthy of the amulet's guidance. And so they walked on, the shadows closing in around them, testing their resolve with every step. But they were not afraid, for they knew that beyond the darkness, the light of the stars still waited, guiding them toward their destiny. The starlit path was only the beginning, but it was a journey that would forge them into the heroes they were destined to become. The shadowed path that Prince Orion, Lysandra, and Magnus had chosen led them deeper into the twilight realm, where the light of the stars seemed to fade into a distant memory. The air grew thick with an otherworldly silence, broken only by the soft echo of their footsteps on the starlit ground. They moved cautiously, their senses alert to the unseen dangers that lurked in the darkened corners of this celestial maze. After what felt like an eternity of walking, the path began to widen, and a soft, ethereal glow appeared on the horizon. As they drew nearer, the light grew brighter, revealing a vast circular chamber surrounded by towering pillars of pure starlight. In the center of the chamber, a great stone pedestal rose from the ground, and upon it rested a shimmering crystal orb, pulsing with a gentle rhythmic light. Orion's breath caught in his throat as he beheld the sight, for he knew they had reached the heart of the trial. This was the domain of the celestial guardians, ancient beings of immense power who had been entrusted with the protection of the amulet. They were said to be as old as the stars themselves, their wisdom and strength unparalleled in the cosmos. As the three companions stepped into the chamber, the light from the crystal orb intensified, casting long shadows across the stone floor. The air hummed with a deep, resonant energy, and from the pillars of starlight, three figures began to emerge, their forms shifting and swirling like the constellations. The first guardian took the shape of a majestic lion, its mane a cascade of golden light that flowed like the rays of the sun. Its eyes burned with a fierce, unwavering intensity, as though it could see into the very soul of those who stood before it. The second guardian appeared as a great eagle, its wings outstretched and shimmering with the silver glow of the moon. Its gaze was sharp and piercing, filled with the wisdom of ages and the knowledge of the heavens. The third and final guardian manifested as a serpent, its body coiled in a spiral of radiant stars. Its eyes were dark and inscrutable, reflecting the endless depths of the cosmos and the mysteries hidden within. The three guardians circled the crystal orb, their presence filling the chamber with a palpable sense of awe and power. When they spoke, their voices echoed in unison, resonating with the very essence of the stars. Prince Orion of Australia, the guardians intoned, their voices a harmonious blend of light and shadow. You have journeyed far and faced the darkness of the starlit path. But your trials are not yet over. To claim the celestial amulet, you must prove yourself worthy in the eyes of the stars. Each of us shall test you, and only if you succeed will the amulet be yours. Orion stepped forward, his heart steady despite the weight of the moment. I am ready, he declared, his voice strong and clear. For the sake of my kingdom, I will face whatever trials you set before me. The lion guardian was the first to speak, its voice a deep, rumbling growl that shook the very air. I am the guardian of courage, it proclaimed. To wield the power of the amulet, you must possess the courage to face your greatest fears. Look into the heart of the crystal orb, and you shall see what you fear most. Only by overcoming this fear can you move forward. Orion approached the orb, its light growing brighter as he drew near. As he gazed into its depths, the swirling colors within began to take shape, forming an image that sent a chill down his spine. He saw his kingdom, Australia, engulfed in darkness, its people lost and despairing. But worse than that was the sight of himself, standing alone in a ruined castle, his efforts to save his land having failed. For a moment, doubt crept into Orion's heart, the fear of failure gripping him with icy hands. But then he remembered the faces of his people, the hope they had placed in him, and the promise he had made to bring light back to their lives. With a deep breath, he steeled himself, pushing the fear aside. This is not my fate, he said aloud, his voice firm. I will not let fear dictate my actions. I will fight for my kingdom, no matter the cost. As the words left his lips, the image within the orb shattered like glass, and the lion guardian nodded in approval. You have shown courage, Prince Orion. The first trial is complete. Next, the eagle guardian spoke, its voice as clear and sharp as the wind. I am the guardian of wisdom, it announced. To command the amulet's power, you must possess the wisdom to make the right choices. I will ask you a question, and you must answer truthfully. Think carefully, for the stars do not tolerate falsehood. Orion nodded, ready to face the challenge. The eagle's eyes gleamed with an ancient light as it posed its question. What is the greatest strength of a ruler? Orion thought for a moment, recalling the teachings of his father and the lessons he had learned on his journey. He knew that strength was not merely a matter of power or force, but something deeper. The greatest strength of a ruler, he answered, is the ability to inspire hope in others. A true ruler leads not by fear or might, but by giving their people something to believe in, a reason to carry on even in the darkest of times. The eagle guardian regarded him for a moment, then dipped its head in acknowledgement. You have answered wisely, Prince Orion. The second trial is complete. Finally, the serpent guardian uncoiled itself, its voice a soft, hissing whisper that sent shivers down their spines. I am the guardian of balance, it said. To control the amulet, you must maintain balance between light and darkness, for one cannot exist without the other. I will show you a vision, and you must decide how to act. Beware, for the choice you make will reveal the true nature of your heart. The serpent's eyes glowed with a dark, hypnotic light as it conjured a vision before Orion. He saw two figures standing before him, one cloaked in darkness, the other bathed in light. They were locked in battle, each struggling to overpower the other. But as Orion watched, he realized that if either side won, the balance of the world would be destroyed. Understanding dawned upon him, and he stepped forward, raising his hand. "Stop," he commanded. "Neither of you must win, for the world needs both light and darkness in equal measure. Without balance, all will be lost." At his words, the two figures ceased their struggle, merging into a single, harmonious form that radiated both light and shadow. The serpent guardian observed Orion with unreadable eyes, then nodded slowly. "You have shown the wisdom of balance, Prince Orion. The third trial is complete." With all three trials passed, the guardians stepped back, their forms beginning to fade into the light of the crystal orb. "You have proven yourself worthy," they declared in unison. "The celestial amulet is yours to claim. Use its power wisely, and let the stars guide you on your journey." As the guardians vanished, the crystal orb began to dissolve, revealing a small, intricately carved amulet, glowing with the light of 1,000 stars. Orion reached out and took it in his hand, feeling its warmth and the immense power contained within. The amulet was his at last, but he knew that his journey was far from over. With the amulet now in his possession, Prince Orion, Lysandra, and Magnus prepared to leave the chamber, ready to face the challenges that still awaited them. The stars had granted their guidance, and it was up to them to fulfill their destiny. With the celestial amulet now in his grasp, Prince Orion felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through his veins. The warmth of the artifact spread through him, filling his heart with the strength and resolve needed to carry on. Yet, as the trio began their journey back along the starlit path, a new challenge loomed ahead, one that would test not his courage or wisdom, but the very core of his being. The path began to shift once more, the shimmering light fading into a soft, golden hue that seemed to pulse in time with the beating of his heart. The air grew warmer, more intimate, as if they were walking not through the cold vastness of space, but through the tender embrace of a long-forgotten memory. Lysandra, ever vigilant, noticed the change and glanced at Orion with concern. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice tinged with unease. "It's as if the air itself is alive, breathing with us." Magnus, his brow furrowed in thought, nodded in agreement. "This place is different from the other trials. It's closer somehow." I sense that we're about to face a challenge unlike any we've encountered before. Orion, though equally aware of the shift, kept his gaze fixed ahead, his grip tightening on the amulet. He could feel it now, an unseen force tugging at him, drawing him deeper into this strange, heart-filled realm. There was no doubt in his mind that this was the trial of the heart, the final test foretold by the prophecy. The path soon led them to a small, secluded glade, bathed in the soft glow of a single, radiant star. In the center of the glade stood a stone altar, ancient and weathered, yet exuding a quiet, enduring strength. Upon the altar lay a single delicate rose, its petals glistening with the light of the star above. As Orion approached the altar, the world around him seemed to fade away, leaving only the rose and the warmth that filled his heart. A voice, soft and melodic, echoed through the glade, speaking directly to his soul. "Prince Orion," the voice began, "you have shown courage, wisdom, and balance in your journey thus far. But to wield the true power of the celestial amulet, you must prove that your heart is pure, free from the burdens of doubt, regret, and fear. This rose is a reflection of your heart, fragile, yet filled with the potential for great beauty. To pass this trial, you must face the truths that lie within." The voice fell silent, leaving Orion to contemplate the rose before him. He reached out, gently cupping the bloom in his hands, feeling its delicate texture against his skin. As he did, the petals began to change, shifting in color and form, revealing glimpses of his past, his present, and his deepest fears. The first vision that appeared was one of his childhood, a time when the kingdom of Australia was still vibrant and full of life. He saw himself as a boy, playing in the castle gardens with his father, the late king. The memory was bittersweet, for it reminded him of the love and warmth that had once filled his life, now replaced by the heavy burden of ruling a dying kingdom. As the vision faded, a second one took its place. This time, a scene of his people, their faces lined with despair as they struggled to survive in a land that had lost its connection to the stars. Orion's heart ached as he watched, feeling the weight of their suffering as if it were his own. He had always carried the responsibility of his kingdom with him. But now, more than ever, he felt the immense pressure to succeed in his quest. Finally, the third vision appeared, one that chilled him to his core. It was a vision of the future, one where he had failed to restore the light to Australia. The kingdom lay in ruins, its people scattered and broken, and Orion himself stood alone, his heart consumed by the darkness he had fought so hard to overcome. The rose in his hands began to wither, its petals curling and blackening as the weight of his fears threatened to overwhelm him. But just as the darkness seemed poised to consume him, a new light emerged from within, a light born not of the stars, but of his own heart. Orion remembered the lessons of the guardians, the courage to face his fears, the wisdom to make the right choices, and the balance to accept both light and darkness. He realized that this trial was not about overcoming the visions, but about accepting them as a part of who he was. His past, his present, and even his fears of the future were all threads in the tapestry of his life, woven together to create the man he had become. "I accept it," Orion whispered, his voice filled with quiet strength. "I accept my past, my fears, and the weight of my responsibilities. But I will not let them define me. My heart is strong, and I will carry the light of the stars within me, no matter what lies ahead." As he spoke these words, the rose in his hands began to bloom once more, its petals glowing with a soft golden light. The visions faded, replaced by a deep sense of peace that filled the glade. The voice returned, filled with warmth and approval. "You have passed the trial of the heart, Prince Orion. Your heart is pure, and the celestial amulet is now truly yours. Use its power wisely, and let the light of the stars guide you on the rest of your journey." With the trial complete, the glade began to dissolve into the starlit path once more. Orion felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had faced the final challenge and emerged victorious. Yet, he also knew that the journey was not over. There were still dangers to face, and the fate of Australia hung in the balance. But with the celestial amulet in hand and the light of the stars in his heart, Prince Orion was ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. The stars had guided him this far, and he knew they would continue to do so until his quest was complete. The air around Prince Orion shimmered with a newfound energy as he emerged from the trial of the heart, the celestial amulet resting warmly against his chest. The glow of the amulet pulsed in time with his heartbeat, as if it had awakened to the truth of his soul and now resonated with his deepest resolve. Lysandra and Magnus stood by his side, their expressions filled with both pride and concern, knowing that the most difficult challenges still lay ahead. The starlit path before them stretched on, but the light that guided their way had changed. It was no longer the soft, uncertain glow they had followed before. Now it blazed with a clarity that filled them with purpose. The amulet, now fully attuned to Orion, projected beams of light that cut through the shadows and illuminated the way forward. As they continued their journey, the path began to ascend, leading them higher into the celestial realm. The stars around them seemed to draw closer, their light growing ever brighter, as if they too were awakening to the power of the amulet. Orion felt a connection to these stars, a sense that they were watching over him, guiding him toward his destiny. After hours of walking, they reached the summit of a towering peak that overlooked a vast swirling galaxy. The view was breathtaking, the stars and nebulae spinning in a dance of cosmic light that filled the sky with color and motion. In the center of this celestial stage stood a grand crystalline temple, its spires reaching into the heavens as if seeking to touch the stars themselves. "This is it," Magnus whispered, his voice filled with awe. "The Temple of the Stars. It is said that within its walls lies the true power of the celestial amulet, a power that can only be unlocked here, at the very heart of the cosmos." Lysandra, ever the protector, placed a reassuring hand on Orion's shoulder. "We've come this far together, Orion. Whatever awaits us inside, we'll face it as one." Orion nodded, his eyes fixed on the temple. He could feel the amulet's energy surging within him, a beacon of hope and strength that filled him with determination. Together, they crossed the threshold into the temple, the doors opening before them with a soft melodic chime that echoed through the starry void. Inside, the temple was a marvel of light and sound, its walls made of transparent crystal that reflected the stars outside in an endless array of colors. At the center of the chamber, suspended in midair, was a massive orb of pure starlight, its surface swirling with the same energy that filled the amulet. This was the heart of the temple, the source of the amulet's true power. As Orion approached the orb, the amulet around his neck began to glow brighter, its light merging with the energy of the orb. The connection between them grew stronger, and Orion felt the amulet's power awakening fully, its guidance flowing through him like a river of light. But as the power surged, so too did the challenges that came with it. The ground beneath them trembled, and the air grew heavy with a dark, oppressive force that seemed to seep from the very fabric of the universe. From the shadows at the edges of the chamber, figures began to emerge. Spectral beings made of darkness, their forms shifting and writhing as if composed of the night itself. "These are the shades of doubt," Magnus warned, his voice tense. "They are the embodiment of every fear, every regret, every doubt you have ever known. They will try to weaken you, to break the bond between you and the amulet. You must remain strong, Orion, for if they succeed, all will be lost." Orion stood firm, the amulet's light flaring in response to the approaching shades. The shadows coiled and hissed, their whispers filling the chamber with words of fear and despair. They spoke of failure, of the futility of his quest, of the darkness that awaited him should he falter. But Orion was no longer the prince who had set out from Australia in search of the amulet. He had faced the trials of courage, wisdom, and heart, and had emerged stronger for it. He knew that the power of the amulet was not just in its light, but in the strength of his own resolve. "I am not afraid," Orion declared, his voice steady and clear. "I have faced the darkness within myself, and I will not be swayed by your lies. The light of the stars guides me, and with it, I will restore my kingdom." With these words, The amulet's light blazed with a brilliance that filled the entire chamber, driving back the shades and dispelling the darkness. The connection between the amulet and the orb of starlight solidified, and Orion felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever known. It was as if the very stars had lent him their strength, their light merging with his own to create a force that could banish even the deepest shadows. The shades, unable to withstand the light, dissolved into nothingness, leaving the chamber bathed in a pure celestial glow. The orb of starlight pulsed one final time, then gently descended into Orion's hands, merging with the amulet to create a single unified artifact that pulsed with the power of the cosmos. The amulet had awakened, its full power now at Orion's command. With it, he knew he could bring the light back to Australia, to banish the darkness that had plagued his kingdom for so long. The journey was nearing its end, but Orion knew that the final challenge, the return to his kingdom, and the battle against the forces that threatened it, still awaited him. But with the amulet's power and the light of the stars guiding his way, Orion felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. The stars had not abandoned him, and now, with their light in his heart, he would fulfill his destiny and restore the glory of Australia. With the celestial amulet fully awakened and its power surging through him, Prince Orion, alongside Lysandra and Magnus, stepped out of the Temple of the Stars, their hearts filled with renewed hope. The journey to this point had been fraught with challenges, but now they stood at the pinnacle of their quest, ready to return to Australia and restore the light that had long been lost. The starlit path that had guided them through the celestial realm began to shimmer once more, leading them back to the astral gateway. But this time, the path felt different, steadier, more certain, as if the stars themselves were escorting them home. The vast expanse of the cosmos spread out around them, a sea of glittering lights that seemed to pulse with life, the energy flowing into the amulet and filling Orion with a sense of purpose. As they walked, Orion found himself reflecting on the trials they had faced. Each challenge had tested a different aspect of his character, his courage, his wisdom, his heart. And through them all, he had emerged stronger, more resolute. But he knew that the journey was not over. The true test lay ahead, in the battle that awaited him back in Australia, where the darkness still threatened to consume his kingdom. Lysandra, ever perceptive, noticed the pensive expression on Orion's face. "You're thinking about what comes next," she said softly, her voice carrying a note of understanding. Orion nodded, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. "We've come so far, but the real battle is just beginning. The darkness that has plagued Australia will not be easily defeated. Even with the power of the amulet, I fear what we may face." Magnus, who had been walking in silence, spoke up with the calm wisdom that had always been his strength. "Do not let fear cloud your mind, my prince. The amulet's power is great, but it is your heart, your determination, that will guide you to victory. Remember the lessons you have learned. The courage to face your fears, the wisdom to make the right choices, and the strength to keep the balance. These will be your greatest weapons." Orion smiled faintly at his companions, grateful for their unwavering support. "You're right, Magnus. We've faced the trials of the stars and overcome them. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together." As they continued along the path, the stars above seemed to twinkle with approval, their light growing ever brighter, as if to bolster their resolve. The journey back to the astral gateway was swift, the way clear and unobstructed, as though the stars themselves were guiding their every step. At last, they reached the gateway, the shimmering archway that had brought them into the celestial realm. It stood before them glowing with the same ethereal light that had first welcomed them into this world of wonders. But now, the light felt warmer, more inviting, as if the gateway was eager to return them to the world they had left behind. As they stepped through the gateway, the celestial realm faded from view, replaced by the familiar sights and sounds of the enchanted forest. The dense canopy of trees, the scent of moss and earth, and the distant calls of forest creatures welcomed them back to the earthly realm. It was as if no time had passed, yet they knew that everything had changed. Orion took a deep breath, the weight of his responsibilities settling back onto his shoulders. But this time, he felt ready to bear it. The amulet pulsed gently against his chest, its light a constant reminder of the power he now wielded. With it, he would bring light back to Australia, dispelling the darkness that had taken root in his kingdom. As they made their way out of the forest, the path before them straight and true, Orion's thoughts turned to the people of Australia. He could imagine them, waiting anxiously for his return, their hope hanging by a thread. He had made a promise to them, and now, with the amulet's power, he intended to keep it. The journey back to the capital was swift, the road seeming to unfurl before them like a ribbon of light. The land, once shrouded in shadows, began to brighten as they passed, the darkness retreating in the face of the amulet's power. It was as if the very earth knew that its savior had returned. When they finally reached the gates of the capital city, they found it in a state of quiet despair. The streets were empty, the buildings dark, and the air thick with the weight of fear. But as Orion, Lysandra, and Magnus entered the city, the amulet's light began to spread, casting a gentle glow that brought the city to life. One by one, the people emerged from their homes, their eyes wide with wonder as they beheld the light that filled the streets. Whispers of hope spread through the crowd, growing louder with each passing moment until it erupted into a chorus of joy and relief. Orion stood before his people, the amulet shining brightly, its light reflecting in their eyes. "People of Australia," he called out, his voice strong and clear, "I have returned, and with me I bring the light of the stars. The darkness that has plagued our land will be driven out, and together we will restore our kingdom to its former glory." The crowd cheered, their voices rising to the heavens, as if to thank the stars themselves. Orion felt their hope, their belief in him, and it strengthened his resolve. The final challenge awaited him, but with the amulet's power and the support of his people, he knew he would face it without fear. As the light of the amulet spread across the city, dispelling the last remnants of darkness, Orion knew that the time had come. The journey was nearing its end, and the battle for Australia's future was about to begin.